rotting driftwood on the foreign shores, spilling out into the ocean floor, and the memories all you've left without a trace. Paralyzed with the thoughts receding, current sweeps you with the silent bleeding through the heart into the darkest place. Well, turn around, there's nothing to see here. Run away, no reason to be here. It's the ghost who never goes away. Turn around and leave this behind now. You see the ground as it bleeds in the sky now. You fight the sea, you're always gonna drown. All the secrets that you're holding, all the memories you hide, all the frail thoughts that echo in the corners of your mind, they won't even last a moment. They will soon be swept away when the ocean takes you in its arms and carries you away. You carry all your burdens on the cross around your neck. You take whatever's left that you could salvage from the wreck, and the hard past will follow you like a lost dog on the beach, nipping at your trail till you've drifted out of reach. Yeah, turn around, there's nothing to see here. Run away, no reason to be here. It's the ghost who never goes away. Turn around and leave this behind now. See the ground as it bleeds to the sky now. You fight the sea, you're always gonna drown. In a broken line horizon, in the castles made of sand, you tried to hold it in your hands, you tried to understand it. The ocean asks the questions, and it holds the answers too. It dissolves away the lies about the things you thought you knew.
Hello, my friends. 'Tis I, Dame Armiger Kalia Ranya. My heart and my sword are yours. And 'tis I, Adelath Karakai II, bastard son of a real bastard. Your hearts are mine. I'm keeping up the pace, trying to stream once every 48 hours, thereabouts. Like, I had a morning stream yesterday on the USA holiday, the Memorial Day, and so I've been trying not to, like, go back to back, like night after night streaming, but there's kind of 2 days in between here because it was morning yesterday and now it's evening here. Yeah, it works out. That probably means I won't be streaming tomorrow. I will instead just be joining in collaborations with other streamers, as is traditional on Wednesdays in Castle Ranya. As always, I've been doing audio tinkering. I was listening back to the previous VOD, and I sounded fine, but there was an awful lot of breath noise. It was like every time I would speak a sentence, there would be this breath. But so I've changed the position of my mic, added some, tinkered with the gain on things, and added a little bit of EQ. So let me know if the sound is better, worse, about the same, whatever you think. I'm ever interested in tuning this sort of thing, and audio is so hard. It's so complicated. There's so many different moving parts that you can put to play, and I am not an audio engineer. When I got started streaming, or at least when I changed from facecam streaming to VTubing, I actually considered, do I, hire somebody to engineer the audio for my stream? And I looked on Fiverr.com to see if anybody was doing that kind of thing. There was one dude that I was able to find on a search doing that kind of thing, and I don't know, I didn't end up spending the money. I figure I'm such small potatoes that, what harm is it going to be if I'm just kind of bashing what I can together? Learning as we go. I fix something one week and I break it the next. As long as you all stay with me and still think that I am appealing enough to come back to, that's all I need, right? So, our stream series continues with Stories from Soul the Gun Dog. We are in Chapter 5 of the adventures or misadventures of the JFS Gundog. Notable events recently. The ship is on a patrol mission. We were supposed to rendezvous with a ship called the JFS O'Brien, but as soon as we made contact with the O'Brien, there was some kind of EMP or inexplicable signal of some kind that wiped out or disabled, at least, the systems of both ships. Primary, backup, everything was offline. The protagonist was able to get the ship back up and running with the help of the engineer and a little bit of help from the operations lead, who seems to be scheming something. Her scheme has to do with the fact that the captain is possibly not entirely reliable. The reason the captain wasn't able to assist with the situation was that the captain was blackout drunk on the eve of the rendezvous with the O'Brien. And during our efforts to get the ship back up and running, we discovered a report from some kind of military tribunal, basically, saying that the captain had previously been a rear admiral and had made some kind of gross tactical error, or kind of this inexplicable decision to peel off part of the fleet into a particular position that was vulnerable to enemy forces and allowed the enemy forces to attack from an unexpected angle and caused a bunch of losses, including most of the crewmates or squad mates of our protagonist on the ship called the Kalika. So there is a reckoning coming at some point over the captain's role in our character's tragic backstory, and that of our thorn in our side, our rival Hansen, who was also in that squadron but survived by some kind of pretty heroic action on his part, but he blames the protagonist for the squad getting wiped out because she wasn't on the scene. A mechanical malfunction meant that her armored frame was unable to launch. Alright, so all that backstory is established. We are now on board an armored frame with Hansen, heading over to investigate the O'Brien, which is still sitting dead in the water. We are to render aid to the O'Brien's crew if any of them are still alive, and if unable, we are to retrieve the O'Brien's flight recorder, the so-called black box. We left off at that very moment where we are about to launch from the Gundog in the armored frame to embark on that mission. You pause for a moment and grit your teeth. This was the first time in years that you've been inside the cockpit of an armored frame. It might be a newer model, but it was pretty much exactly how you remembered it. Alright, window. Snapping back to the present, you do your best to head off the thoughts that you know will follow your reminiscing by taking a look around the cockpit to see where you'd be sitting. Although the majority of a Juno's cockpit is taken up by the pilot's seat, which sits in the center, mounted on a series of shock absorbers, there is space on either side which allows for the addition of a temporary passenger seat to be mounted on the pilot's. Sure enough, Dalton, the cadet engineer, has attached this fixture onto the right-hand side of the seat currently occupied by Hansen. So these must be at least battle mech, if not Gundam-sized frames. If you could have, upwards of 3 people in the cockpit of one, right? You stash the PST, is the portable something terminal. It's this sort of laptop that we've been using to open doors and operate ship systems while they don't have power available. The battery on the PST will send its juice to something like an electronic door to let it get open, and so on and so forth. It was used for maintenance and diagnostics, and here we're putting it to use in this kind of emergency. And the file the chief gave you, which is instructions for retrieving the black box, at the rear of the cockpit. Once they're out of your hands, you pull on your helmet, fastening your suit's final seals and then strapping yourself into the passenger seat. Whilst you do up the buckles, you look across at Hansen, who you realize hasn't said a single thing since you entered the cockpit. You'd been too preoccupied with getting away from Vanessa, the other thorn in our side, who seems to maybe be planning a mutiny to take over from the captain, to notice, but now that you're actually paying attention to the ensign, you see that his chest is rapidly rising and falling with every breath. On top of that, his hands both grasp the flight sticks, squeeze them tightly and release them, a motion he repeats over and over. Despite the fact you're looking right at him, he hasn't noticed you. Instead, his focus seems purely on the monitor in front of him. Hey, Ensign Crews. Are you, okay? There's a slight delay, but a second after you ask, Hansen releases his grasp on the flight sticks and turns to face you, the intense expression he just had suddenly replaced by his normal countenance. What? I was just asking if you were okay. Of course I'm okay. What are you talking about? We're not all cowards like you who can't even launch an AF. You take a deep breath in and exhale slowly as you look away. You weren't sure what you'd been expecting, but at least Hansen seemed like his normal self. Thankfully, any follow-up from him is cut off by Vanessa's face appearing on the comm screen and her voice on the frame's speakers. Gundog 1, this is Lieutenant Lord. It's 1630 Jovian Standard and the mission has begun. Please confirm you're ready for launch. Copy that, Lieutenant Lord. This is Ensign Crews and Gundog 1. All systems ready for launch and waiting on authorization. Understood. Authority granted. Stand by whilst you're transported for takeoff. Although the Juno's monitors haven't turned on yet, you can tell that the reverberations you feel are coming from it being lowered from the hangar and out of the underside of the ship. Activating all systems. Now. All at once, the monitors come to life, illuminating you and Hansen with their glow. Gundog 1, ready. Gundog 1, releasing restraints. Gundog 1, launching. Once the armored frame is free of its restraints, Hansen slams the flight sticks forward in unison, sending the Juno hurtling away from the Gundog and causing it to shake with the acceleration. As the cockpit shudders, you unconsciously grab onto the straps keeping you in the passenger seat and squeeze them tightly. With the frame continuing to accelerate, you do your best to keep a neutral expression, but despite this, Hansen looks across to you and notices your grim appearance. What's the matter, Lieutenant? Feeling flight sick already? No, I'm fine. You lie. Sure. Just sit back and watch how a real pilot handles an AF. Although you'd thought Hansen had launched at maximum thrust, he somehow manages to find an extra burst of acceleration, causing the cockpit to shake further, doing nothing to help the nausea you feel. If you throw up, ma'am, your helmet stays on. Eventually, Hansen eases up on the acceleration, and the juddering stops. Although you're still slightly nauseous, you slowly begin to feel less like the little food you've had time for today will be reappearing inside your helmet. Martham, good evening, love. Hello. How is my audio this evening? I have once again made some tune-ups. Yes, Hansen got out of the elevator. We never helped him, but he made his way once the power was back on. As the Juno continues to cruise forwards, you and Hansen both sit in the near silence of the cockpit. Okay, good to hear. With no real indication of distance between you and the O'Brien, or the speed you're traveling, it's difficult for you to keep track of time and the journey drags on. There's no way for you to be exact, but it feels like at least half an hour has passed with neither of you saying anything. Yeah, nobody's called us on it. Far as I can tell, we have gotten away hands clean from both abandoning Hansen to the elevator and sneaking a peek at the captain's court-martial report. So far so good, I guess. Chaos Gremlins in the chat are being rewarded. Eventually, the oppressive silence, coupled with your increasingly desperate desire for a distraction, forces you to think about something you'd never thought you'd do. Willingly start a conversation with Hansen. Ask about the gun dog. Apologize. Tell him about the report. Or leave it. I'm guessing that the intent with tell him about the report would be like, hey, I found this thing that vindicates me. It wasn't my fault that all those people in our squadron died. It was the captain's fault, i.e. the rear admiral's fault. But this just seems like giving Hansen an absolute bandolier of ammunition with which to screw us over. This seems like a terrible idea. Apologizing is not going to get anywhere. Ask about the gun dog just seems like, that seems... If we're gonna make idle conversation, why not? Leave it as... like, yeah, okay, never mind. Mortham and or Rain, what do you think? Any particular option that you think we should run for here in this conversation? Okay. Taking a pretty moderate route. Just talk about the dog or just leave it. I would lean towards asking about the gun dog. It's at least more interesting than just sitting in silence. Dog or leaves. Okay, so let's go with that, asking about the gun dog. So, you start before trailing off quickly as Hansen doesn't acknowledge you at all. How long have you been on the gun dog? Hansen gives you the briefest flicker of an acknowledgement, but doesn't take his eyes off the main monitor. What? I was just asking how long you've been stationed on the gun dog. Why? You're only seconds into this conversation, it's already one you're beginning to regret. I just, thought I'd ask. I'd heard people talking about your piloting and... Yeah? Well, people can say whatever they like about my piloting. Doesn't make a difference because I've been stuck on this joke of a ship for a year. Not that it matters. Every other pilot in the JCF is doing nothing but drills right now, so who cares where I am? A fresh, uncomfortable silence hangs in the air between the two of you as you mentally scramble for a response. So what are you doing on this ship anyway? How'd you screw up? Your first instinct is to fire back that you aren't a screw up like him, but you know you can't admit that Cassie had your transfer put through as a favor without the risk of it getting back to Vanessa. I didn't screw anything up. I just got transferred here short notice to fill the role, that's all. Whatever, ma'am. You don't get dumped on the gun dog unless you screwed up or are defective, so what was it? Neither. Yeah, sure. Huh. So... I guess given the chat options there, we'll just move on to leaving it like, well, that was about as well as we could expect, so... As the two of you continue your flight towards the O'Brien, the quietness of the Juno's cockpit adds to the sense of tension you feel between yourself and Hansen. Despite not engaging with, or even acknowledging you, you can't help but feel a sense of pressure. Hansen's simple presence continues to put you on edge. You mull over a few potential topics for conversations, but can't come up with anything that won't sound weird or forced. Eventually, you resign yourself to the fact that the rest of the journey will just have to continue on this way for as long as it takes. Fox guy whose name I can't spell properly's voice is so hot.
Excuse me. I am a caracal, not a fox. But I do appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, we're all felines up in here. He's just got particularly tall ears. He's a desert lynx. Oh, I'll have to find you some good pictures. They're a very striking looking cat. It's kind of a desert cat out of Africa, I think. Central Africa somewhere, I think. You shift in your seat and adjust one of the belts slightly. With a sigh, you make yourself as comfortable as you can, settling into the silence. With no other sounds beyond the almost imperceptible background noise of the cockpit, and the Juno's monitor showing nothing but stars, your mind drifts, bouncing from thought to thought.
What else can I reveal that will raise myself in your estimation more than... Shall I talk about my wilderness scouting, my expertise with the twin short swords, or my childhood living in a wizard's tower?
Oh god, here we go. Let's continue with the game, shall we? The warmth of the cockpit and the gentle vibrations caused by the shuddering of the Juno's engines cause your thoughts to idle and slow. Eventually, without realizing it, you begin to drift off to sleep. You're almost completely gone when both you and Hansen sit upright and fix your attention on the main monitor. Although there's nothing to see beyond the stars and the visual indicator, you know that this means the O'Brien is close by.
We're here.
Hansen mutters to himself as he begins to flick switches on the control panel to his side. You watch silently as he works the pedals and flight sticks to reduce the Juno's speed.
Gundog. This is Gundog 1. We've got target lock on the objective. I repeat, this is Gundog 1 and we've got target lock on the objective.
Hansen scowls at the communications screen as it returns nothing but static, and an indication that it hasn't picked up any incoming signal. He quickly resets the switches on the control panel before activating them again.
I repeat, Gundog, this is Gundog 1. We've got target lock on the objective, do you read? Piece of junk!
His foot strikes the paneling underneath the main monitor, causing it to flicker momentarily, but doing nothing to help obtain a signal. With the O'Brien now visible on the screen, you remain silent as Hansen continues to deactivate and reactivate the Juno's transmission system.
Gundog, this is Gundog 1. We've got target lock on the objective. I repeat, Gundog, this is Gundog 1. We've got target lock. God damn it, Lord, where the hell are you? Hello! Hello!
This time, Hansen's fist strikes the main monitor. Thankfully for both of you, the reinforced glass of its screen remains undamaged. You move as far away from Hansen as the restraints of your temporary seat will allow. You always knew he was hot-headed, but that didn't make this any easier to deal with. Leave Hansen to it or try to calm him down. My heart says try to calm him down, but my head says just leave him to it.
Why is your heart sympathetic to this guy? You're starting to get a crush on this guy. Some sort of like bullied school kid sort of dynamic.
I'll leave him to it then. You cross your arms and look away as Hansen continues to attempt re-establishing contact with the gun dog. Each time he does, his efforts are met with the same familiar static.
Come on! What's wrong with this piece of crap? Gundog, come in! Ah!
This carries on for a few more minutes, but you do nothing to attempt to offer a solution or solve the problem. In his current mood, you don't feel that Hansen would take any suggestion well. Eventually, he throws himself back in his seat, causing both his and yours to rock. As you steady yourself, he grips the twin flight sticks and increases the frame's thrust.
Fine. Not like we don't know what we're doing. This is Gundog 1. In case anyone out there can actually hear us, we're approaching the JFS O'Brien. We're carrying out the visual inspection of the O'Brien now.
With the O'Brien now close enough for you to actually make out its finer details, Hansen decelerates the frame, bringing it to nearly a complete stop. Deftly adjusting the Juno's orientation, he then begins to circle the Swift-class ship, and the two of you focus on the monitor, trying to identify anything out of the ordinary on the O'Brien before you get closer. Wait a second, is that? You point to the O'Brien's main airlock, and Hansen quickly sets a camera to zoom in on it.
Wide open. Looks like someone's tried the same stunt as you.
Maybe Kali is sympathetic because you've given Hansen Adelat's voice. Why would having Adelat's voice make me more sympathetic? No, that's not it. I closed the secondary airlock door behind me. Both of those are open, which means...
The ship must be completely depressurized.
Yeah, if this happened when the power was off, none of the emergency bulkheads would have been able to close. The two of you sit in silence, both considering what you've just found out. If the same thing had happened to the O'Brien as the Gundog, and someone had opened both airlocks, then what little breathable air was left on the ship would have been sucked out into space.
We've still got a mission to do. Come on.
You nod silently in agreement as Hansen, apparently sobered by that realization, moves the armored frame towards the airlock. This isn't necessarily the end, you think. If some of the crew were lucky, they might have been able to get their spacesuits on before they ran out of air. They'd be running low on oxygen by now, but...
This is Gundog 1, docking with the O'Brien.
Now only meters away from the other ship, Hansen brings the Juno to a complete stop, and, with a surprising amount of delicacy, has it reach out with one arm, grabbing hold of a protrusion from the ship and anchoring itself.
All right, let's go.
In a well-practiced motion, Hansen releases himself from his seat's harness, moves forwards, and grabs the lever to open the cockpit's hatch. As soon as it's open, you feel the rush of the cockpit's air escaping. Meanwhile, Hansen pulls himself out and steps into the airlock. Having a slightly harder time with the straps on your harness, it takes you a few moments longer to release yourself. Once free, you gather up the PST and the instructions the chief had given you before making your own way out of the Juno. The two of you tentatively make your way from the airlock itself through to the room beyond. Although nothing is obviously broken or wrong, the fact you're standing in an area identical to the one on the Gundog, but open to space and completely uninhabitable, sends a shiver down your spine. Well, he looks kind of smug for the situation. Maybe that's supposed to be kind of a grim set smile, I don't know. You look to Hansen and see him mouthing something that you can't hear. You continue to stand there in confusion as Hansen wordlessly gestures at you until he looks exasperated. It takes you a moment, but you realize what's going on and reach up to the radio on your chest panel, flicking the switch that activates it.
It's about time you figured that out, ma'am.
Hansen's voice crackles over your helmet's speaker. Unlike the Juno, where the cockpit was pressurized so you could hear each other, you now find yourself standing in a complete vacuum, where no sound can travel. In space, no one can hear you smooch.
So, what's the plan?
You turn to survey the empty void of the airlock. The first priority given by the captain was assisting the crew of the O'Brien to get their ship back online. But judging the current state of things, you weren't sure that you'd have much luck with that. Oops. Uh-oh. I got a little bit out of sync there for a moment. Sometimes if I tap the cycle button between me and Adelath too quickly, we get we get in an incorrect sync where we're both lit up or both dimmed. Need to bap the button a few times to get it sorted out. The plan, you say to yourself more than to Hansen as you go over the current situation in your mind.
That's right, Lieutenant. The plan. Right now you've got rank, so without Lord screeching down our comms line, this is on you. Unless you're after a trip down memory lane and want to sit in the Juno's cockpit whilst I do everything.
A mix of shame and anger swells inside you as you bite your tongue to not snap at Hansen with the first thing that comes to mind. Smooching. Yeah, that was the stream tagline I put on last session. There has been at least one kiss in the game so far between the protagonist and her girlfriend Cassandra, and implied other intimacies off camera in between shifts. Stow it, Ensign. Despite the way he said it, he wasn't wrong. With nothing coming from the gun dog, you are now the highest-ranking officer involved with this mission. Alright, the first priority was to assist the crew. It doesn't look like anyone's going to be in this part of the ship, but we still need to try. Since I've used the PST before, it's going to be easier for me to carry out that search. Whilst I'm doing that, you can start removing the ship's black box. You hold up the manila folder that the chief had given you on the gun dog, and Hansen takes it from you, clumsily flicking through it with his gloved hands.
It's on the bridge, huh? How are we gonna get up there?
Same way I did it on the gun dog. Come on. You turn around and head into the ship, eventually arriving in the central hub.
Okay then, Lieutenant. Now what?
As you walk past Hansen to where the maintenance hatch is located next to the elevators, you take the opportunity to quickly switch your radio off, tell Hansen exactly what he can do next, then switch it back on. What's next, Ensign, is this. You run your fingers down the seam between the panel and the wall and quickly find the catch. Unlike the one on the bridge, you're able to fit your suit's fingers into this one and you quickly release it. As the hatch comes away in your hands, you wait to feel the sensation of air rushing out of the crawlway. Unfortunately, you feel nothing, confirming one of the fears you had about the ship and her crew. Placing the hatch down, you turn to Hansen, saying nothing about your discovery, and instead gesturing to the ladder. At the top of this ladder, you'll find another panel like this one that leads into the bridge. To release it, all you need to do is push on the catch from the inside. Think you can handle that?
What do you think, Lieutenant? You're not dealing with some dumb security officer here or anything. Let a pilot show you how it's done.
With a swagger that's only exaggerated by the bulk of his suit, Hansen strides past you, steps into the access tunnel, and heads up the ladder. You take the opportunity to turn your radio off again and tell him what you really think about pilots. Which is kind of funny because we are an ex-pilot, but whatever. Once you're done, you switch it back on in case he sends any transmissions. Now that you've set him to work, it's up to you to try and find any survivors of the O'Brien's crew and use their help to get the ship back online. You look around the empty central hub, the same silence that previously filled the gun dog now filling your helmet. After a moment of contemplation, you head towards the first place you think it might be fruitful to explore, which is up to us as the player at last. So, he's on the bridge. So we've already been to the airlock. Possibilities include sickbay, captain's quarters, hangar. Well, no. Yeah, hangar. Sickbay's right here. I could see that being someplace where people might sort of huddle up and try to wait out a disaster. You reach out into the maintenance crawlway and grab a rung on the ladder. Stepping forward, you place your feet onto another rung that you can barely see, and then instead of following Hansen up, you start moving downwards. As you descend, the crawlway eventually becomes completely dark. The only indication you're given that you've reached the bottom is when you bring your foot down and you unexpectedly stomp on a floor panel. Now at the bottom of the shaft, you grope around in the darkness, looking for the catch that will release the panel by the elevator into the sickbay. After a few minutes of sliding your palms around blindly, your suit's glove catches on something. I'm a little bit surprised that a spacesuit wouldn't have a flashlight attached somewhere. You'd think that would be pretty standard sort of equipment for this kind of thing, but whatevers. You investigate it with your fingertips to confirm it's what you're looking for before releasing it, grabbing the panel as it falls away and placing it to the side as you step through into the sickbay. With no rush of air to indicate you've depressurized the room, you're almost entirely certain you knew what to expect, but what you find goes beyond that. Well, it's a dramatic situation. The kind of Metal Gear Solid style exclamation mark noise always makes me chuckle a bit. Behind the desk set to meet those who enter the sickbay, you see the crumpled form of someone wearing a white coat much like Dr. Rosarium's. You quickly make your way over to them, but as you do, you stop momentarily as you feel something crunching underneath your boots. Looking around, you can see that the doctor is surrounded by broken glass. Taking stock of the room, you realize that the cabinets at the far end of the sickbay are all still locked, but the glass panels have been shattered and their contents scattered. Instead of trying to puzzle out what's happened, you turn your attention back to the doctor, kneeling down by them and gently turning them over. You're faced with a woman who seems to be in her mid-50s, her sandy hair done up in a loose bun with errant strands tucked behind her ears. You notice that of the two lenses set into her round, wire-framed spectacles, one is cracked and the frames sit askew on her face. Although her pale blue eyes are wide open and staring at you, they don't move and she does not blink. Her skin is pallid, matching the cool blue of her eyes, the striking red of her lipstick standing out in a dramatic contrast. You stay holding the doctor for a moment before gently laying her down, and with as much delicacy as you can manage in your bulky spacesuit, you close her eyes. As you stand up, you exhale deeply. Although it was almost certain this would be the scenario you'd be facing for most of the ship, since the central area had been depressurized with no safety measures engaged, you'd been holding out hope that you'd find crew members alive and well. Despite the sight of the doctor, you still hold on to that hope. As you survey the room, you turn your attention back to the glass underfoot and the shattered frontage of the cabinets. What happened here? As you head towards the back of the room to examine the cabinets, you feel the crunch of glass fragments under your feet. Although the floor is scattered with various boxes and bottles of different medicines, there's something in particular that catches your eye. You squat down and pick up an open packet that you recognize. NutriShake mix. As you turn the pouch over in your hands and look inside, you find it's completely empty of the powder that it should contain. Placing it back on the floor, you look around and realize that whilst all the boxes of medication are still sealed, the packets you can see torn open are all NutriShake packets. Did someone really do all this for NutriShakes? There's no one in there right now, no point in opening that door. All vacant. Could whoever have done this been in for treatment? The ship's doctor. It looks like she was involved in a struggle down here, but I can't tell whether she died before or after the ship was depressurized. You can try using this. You walk up to one of the cabinets with a broken glass frontage and gently pull on its handle. As you'd expected, it's still locked and doesn't budge. I'm gonna try use on the doctor to see if we can claim like a security card or something. We are gonna need that to go along with the PST to access any areas that are sealed. You stand over the doctor, trying to see if there are any clues to what happened to her beyond the crack on her glass's lens. As you survey her, you notice that, unlike Dr. Rosarium, she doesn't wear her stethoscope around her neck or her keycard on a lanyard. Hang on, her keycard. Thought reminds you of the Chief's instructions, that you need to use a keycard from a member of the O'Brien's crew if you are going to activate any doors at the PST. You steel your resolve, aware of what you need to do, but not finding the concept altogether pleasant. Sorry about this, Doctor. Squatting beside her, you pat the doctor down. Although the thickness of your spacesuit's gloves makes the task difficult, you do your best to be respectful. Eventually, you reach the doctor's waist and feel a protrusion from her side. Opening her white coat, you see an internal pocket, and after a moment spent trying to fit your gloved hand inside, you manage to grab a hold of something and pull it out. You got the doctor's keycard. You stand up and read the name on the back of the card. Dr. Esri de Boer. Or is it de Beer? You unclasp a pouch on the side of your suit, deposit the card, and then close it again. The doctor won't have the clearance to let me access the central computer, but maybe this will let me find someone who does. E? Esri. Oh, that is another DS9 reference. Yeah. Thank you for your help, Dr. De Beer. I'm just sorry we didn't get here sooner. Back to the central hub, then. Having made your way back in the maintenance crawlway, you work your way up into the darkness, the dull starlight from the airlock that illuminates the central hub, barely illuminating the exit above you. As you continue towards it, you pause as your radio hisses into life. Hello? Hansen? Lieutenant Commander Quinn from the JFS Gundog. Cassie, what are you doing on this? We're picking up your signal and have arrived at the rendezvous area. Please transmit your precise coordinates. Over. Cassie, what are you... you want to pick this one up too, Adwalath?
Sure thing.
We read you. That's a sweet voice you've got there, Gundog. I'm transmitting coordinates and mission update files now. It's good to finally... What? This is from when... Roger that, JFS O'Brien. This is Lieutenant Commander Quinn from the JFS Gundog. We're picking up your signal and have arrived at the rendezvous area. Please transmit your precise coordinates. Over.
We read you. That's a sweet voice you've got there, Gundog. I'm transmitting coordinates and mission update files now. It's good to finally...
The snippet of conversation between Cassie and Lieutenant Bashir loops a few times until eventually fading out into static. With as little explanation as to why the transmission started, it ends. What would be transmitting that recording? Alright, so... I suppose from here maybe we can head to engineering? I would think that the doctor's access might get us to the main area of engineering. And then maybe in there we can find a keycard that'll let us access the computer? It's a bit of guesswork from here, because it's like hard to say where somebody with a higher clearance might have been at the time of everyone dying. But let's for now go to the aft. Heading away from the central hub, you slowly make your way into the darkness of the aft thoroughfare. As you peer into the gloom, you're able to make out the vague shapes and outlines of the corridor's familiar features. Despite the darkness, thanks to O'Brien being a swift class like the Gundog, you're already familiar with its layout and what to expect. Although that does help to some degree. The deep shadows that come from each protrusion of technology and the pool of darkness that grows deeper towards the far end still give the corridor a heavy, oppressive atmosphere. You're almost entirely unable to make out the door that leads to engineering, causing your exploration of the corridor to feel like a step into the unknown. You pause and cast your torch around the passageway. See, now we've got a flashlight. What the hell? As you ponder where to head next, you feel gentle vibrations reverberate through your suit. In the vacuum, you can't hear anything that makes noise. You can feel what seem like a set of footsteps coming up behind you. You turn back to talk to Hansen, impressed by the speed at which he's removed the black box. Oh, are you done already, Hansen? Where you'd been expecting to see the ensign, there's nothing but emptiness. Hansen? You spend a moment or two looking around, even going so far as to return to the central hub to see if he'd approached you then doubled back. Hansen? This isn't a good time to be playing practical jokes. You mutter to yourself as you switch on your radio. Ensign Crewy, what were you just doing down in the aft thoroughfare?
Huh? What are you talking about, Lieutenant?
Ensign, I just heard you walking around down here. Have you finished retrieving the black box already?
You might want to get yourself checked out, Lieutenant. I've been up here the entire time. Don't go cracking up on me, man.
You look into the gloom and then back towards the central hub one more time, seeing nothing but the outline of familiar features in their shadow. Must just be some loose component or something.
Or maybe it's the ghosts of the O'Brien's crew ready to drag you away.
Get back to the task at hand, Ensign.
Roger that, ma'am.
Huh. Move to engineering? Yes. Just like you had seen on the Gundog a few hours earlier. Oh, hello, Spooky. It's dreaming of my Short King boyfriend.
Do I count as your boyfriend?
That seems really weird to me. I mean, the both of us occupy the same body? The same brain? So, I don't know.
It's really funny that you think that those are the troubling factors here, rather than the fact that you don't seem to like me very much most of the time.
Well, you know, My mind just went to the practicalities first. I don't know. New meaning of self-love, yeah. I don't know, the Viscountix was posting something about system self-cessed earlier, I don't know. That said, I don't know. Yeah, no, you just got me thinking about this.
The gears are turning in the Dame Armager's head. Just how attracted am I to Adelath Konakai II?
What have you all gotten me into?
Well, here's the thing, Spooky. If you want to... say... put together some fan art involving the both of us, you'd have my consent in that regard.
Sure. But really, this is just you trying to bum free artwork off of my model brother.
Don't you do that all the time?
I make odd little suggestions here and there. I'm not putting pressure on. I get so much free art from him already. It's...
Sure.
Love you, Spooky. Have a good evening. Okay. Where the aft thoroughfare should transition into the engineering department. Instead, all you see is a gigantic blast door. Kali was your art practice piece? Oh, that's awesome. Happy to be of service, and I certainly benefited greatly from it as well. From experience, crawling underneath one of these, you knew that there was no way you would ever hope of moving it manually. On top of that, there was no point in attempting to open it before you had the emergency access codes, so I need those. With the battery power the door took to open, you'd probably shut yourself in engineering with no way of getting back out. Although you had Dr. De Beer's card, which should afford you access, you still needed those codes. You turn back and move away from the door, making your way back to the aft thoroughfare. Okay, so there is a sequence of things that we need to do here, and that was not it. In that case, so I need to go back to Central Hub, move to the 4-side thoroughfare, head to... yeah, I guess we're gonna try to check out the O'Brien's captain's quarters, just do the kind of same routine as we did on the Gundog. Practice drawing a lady, add cat ears, blonde hair, damn it, I drew my sister again. Got my mind on your body and body on my mind. Let's see if we can get into the captain's quarters. I'm not sure what... yeah. Because we used the PSC to get into the captain's quarters before, right? Having a good time there, Mortham? You approach the captain's quarters at the end of the corridor and see the same Javian insignia as the one on Captain Bartermure's door. Below it is a nameplate which proudly presents the O'Brien's captain's full name. Paul-Henri Gerard. With Dr. De Beer's keycard in your possession, you move towards the captain's door and lay the PST off to the side. You had been saving the PST's battery for when you confirmed a surviving member of the crew and genuinely needed it. But the chance that the ship's captain was in there, as well as their card and access codes, was too great to ignore, and you were willing to use the battery power for it. Alright, let's go for it. Portable sub-terminal, that's what it is. You kneel down beside the terminal linked to the captain's quarters and begin the well-practiced process of connecting the PST and going through its menus, eventually selecting the unlock function. And now, with a sense of trepidation, you unfasten the pouch on your belt and take out the doctor's keycard. As a security officer, your card had enough authority to access every room short of the central computer, even the captain's. You weren't entirely sure that a doctor's card would be sufficient. I would think, though, out of character, that a doctor's card should be able to, in the event of a medical emergency where the captain's incapacitated in their quarters, you want the doctor to be able to get in there and render help. So I would think that that would be possible. Without much of an alternative, you slide Dr. De Beer's card into the slot and hold your breath. Thankfully, you see the door begin to slowly slide open, and with an exhalation of relief, you stand up. Once the door is open enough to allow you through, you make your way inside. As you'd expected, Captain Gerard's quarters were almost identical to Captain Bartomew's, with a few small differences, like the lack of any open bottles of liquor. Well, let's see, I have been streaming for about an hour, and the dog is starting to complain. So I'm going to take a short stream break here, take the dog outside, maybe nab myself a quick stretch and drink, and then we will be back probably until stream conclusion. I will be back shortly. Enjoy some copyright-free tunes in the meantime. Here we are. I don't know how much later I'll end up streaming. I've not yet received word from the wifey that she's on her way home from work, so hopefully that means we should get another half an hour or so in. As you walk in, you look around. Seeing no immediate sign of the captain, you move over to the bedroom portion of their quarters, only to find an immaculately made bed and the same basic features as the one you'd seen in the captain's quarters aboard the Gundog. Well, if they're not here, there's only one other place they could be. Leaving the bedroom, you walk past the desk and stand by the door to the bathroom. You gingerly knock, but after realizing that with no air, no one would be able to hear that you bang on the door and wait for response. With no answer forthcoming, you slide open the door, finding nothing but a pristine bathroom. Well, I guess they're not here then. The exact same painting as the one in Captain Bartomew's quarters. Probably done from a stencil or something, I guess. A small bonsai tree. Regular plants are really expensive back on the colonies, so even getting the seedling to start one of these would cost a fortune. People say that the air in a room with a plant in it tastes way better than the normal reprocessed air you get on a ship or colony, but I've never been around a plant to try it out. On the edge of the desk closest to the door into the quarters, you notice a stack of papers perched precariously, as if they'd been left in a hurry. Based on the same tractor feed edges you'd seen on the papers in Captain Bartomew's quarters, you could assume they'd been printed out on board, meaning they were recent documents. The captain must have left in a rush if he didn't lock them away. That, or they're nothing important. I take them? You hesitate for a moment, considering whether or not you should pick up the files in front of you. Although in normal circumstances doing such a thing would result in severe disciplinary action, you reason that these aren't exactly normal circumstances. Anything that could explain what had gone on or help the O'Brien had to be investigated. Besides, you think, it's not like this would be the first report you'd read today that you shouldn't have. You take the file in hand and read the heavy printed text on the front. JCF Naval Report, JFS O'Brien, Mission Log 132, 8/04/0214. Flicking through the report is made difficult by the clumsiness of your spacesuit's gloves, but you manage to quickly skim your way through the file's contents. You scan the pages of general day-to-day ship operations to see if you can find anything out of the ordinary. As you work your way through the logs, a few curious entries in amongst the expected information catch your attention. April 8th, PC 214. JFS O'Brien's routine patrol path adjusted to investigate erratic Higgs field distortions in outer limits of JCF territory. April 19th, PC 214. Investigation reveals significant residual boson distortion. Inconsistent with standard JCF drive output, JFS Gundog dispatched to support the investigation. April 21st, PC 214. Continuous sweep. No. Uh-oh. Oh, there was a brief stream outage, I think. Couple seconds of the OBS went offline, but it seems to have re-established connection without any trouble. Not recognized as Jovian, Martian, or Solar Federation. Ensigns Boot and Stett dispatched to retrieve. Object onboarded at 1927 JST. April 22nd, PC 214. Long-range communication system remains down. Source not yet identified by Chief Engineer DeForge. O'Brien moved to rendezvous point to meet JFS Gundog for duty transfer. April 23rd, PC 214. Rendezvous with JFS Gundog behind schedule. Chief Engineer DeForge investigating unknown object for potential cause of communication failure. Destructive investigation authorized. Sounds like they ran into similar issues as us around the time they took whatever this unknown object is on board. Unknown object, huh? Alright, the terminal's not going to be working, so let's check those drawers. You head around to the back of the desk and try each drawer, working your way from top to bottom. Unsurprisingly, they're all locked. I'll need to find the keys if I'm going to get in there. As you head into the bedroom, you take the time to look around thoroughly. You hadn't liked doing this in Captain Bartermew's quarters, and you didn't like doing it anymore here. Working your way from left to right, you check the large chest of drawers, before moving on to the bedside table and then eventually the area around the bed. Alright, it's time once again for a Kali writing minute. Verb tense. When you are writing a story like this, try to stick to one tense. If you want the player or the reader, if you're doing a static story, to feel like they're kind of in the moment with the protagonist, use present tense narration like you've got here. You check the large chest of drawers, right? We're in the moment with the character. We are with them, checking the drawers, and so on and so forth. If you want it to feel like more of a retrospective, like the character is relating a thing that happened in their past, then you can use past tense narration like we saw just a moment ago. But mixing them up one sentence to the next feels strange. It's very disorienting. Like, maybe most folks who aren't sort of like paying close attention to that kind of thing aren't gonna think it's a big deal, but anybody who's got like English grammar training or writing training is gonna be like, ah! Despite a rigorous check of the room, you don't find anything interesting or useful, just personal effects of the captain that you can't help but feel guilty for rifling through. Okay, so we're a little bit stuck here. There's a time and a place for thinking about my civil heritage, and now isn't it? Alright, so no luck here. We're gonna need to go somewhere else to find the captain's keys, and then come back here to get the desk open. So, now what? Do we go to some central kind of crew gathering place like the mess hall, maybe? Or the hangar? See if the captain was slain there? This is gonna be rough, like, we're back to guesswork, I feel like. Check the underwear drawer. Yeah, we did that already, unfortunately. Alright, hangar and mess hall are both off of this corridor, so let's check them both. Given the time when the gun dog and presumably the O'Brien had blacked out, you knew there shouldn't have been anyone in the mess hall. Despite this, you also knew that it wasn't uncommon for crew members to disappear from stations briefly to grab a quick pick-me-up or treat, especially if their duty was quiet. And especially if that crew member's name was Cassandra Quinn. You go through the routine of hammering on the door, waiting for a response, and continuing to batter it with your fist just in case you hadn't been heard the first time. Despite your best efforts, you don't manage to get a response. The mess hall. Okay. So it won't let us PST our way in there to investigate. Yeah, the protagonist is being very conservative with the battery, I suppose. And I guess she has a better idea than I do of, like, the probabilities of people showing up in any given place. As you make your way through the gloom of the four-side thoroughfare, you absent-mindedly knock on the low-gravity warning sign just before the double doors that lead into the ship's hangar. Placing the portable sub-terminal by your feet, you hammer on the doors with your fist, hopeful that if anyone's in there, they'll hear your signal and reciprocate in kind. After around 10 seconds of this, you stop and press your helmet against the door. If there is any noise in there, the vibrations should travel through the door and into your helmet, allowing you to hear it. I guess no one's in... Oh! Hey, can you hear me in there? You call out, resuming your hammering of the door when you get no response. It is quite likely that everyone is dead, yes. We are aboard a derelict ship. All of its systems are offline, and the main airlock was open both ends, such that the interior of the ship was open to space. So we are presuming that everyone is likely dead, but we are searching for survivors, like maybe someone who managed to get a spacesuit on, or hold themselves up somewhere that had air, yeah. Hey, whoever's in there, we're from the JFS Gundog. We're here to rescue you. Can you hear me? There's definitely someone in there. Although you're still not getting an obvious response, the knowledge that someone is in there fills you with a sense of urgency, and you hurriedly set your suit's radio to broadcast. This is Lieutenant Ranya of the JFS Gundog. We're here to provide assistance to any crew on the JFS O'Brien. So when did the impregnation aliens pop out? Well, we do know that the O'Brien took on an unidentified object of some kind, and they were going to cut it open, so it's a pretty classic story, isn't it? I repeat, this is Lieutenant Ranya of the JFS Gundog. We're here to provide assistance to any crew on the JFS O'Brien. It doesn't seem like they can hear me, but if there's a chance the commander is in there, I need to take it. Although there's a chance that they may not be in a spacesuit yet. If I open these doors now, I risk pulling them out in the vacuum. Maybe something I've missed that could let me get the access codes more safely. Okay, I'll keep exploring. It's really tempting to just charge in there and grab them, but I should only do it if there's no other option. I'll have this sorted out soon, whoever you are. Okay. What else should I check out, though? I guess I'll just go room by room and see what locations the game allows me to peek my head into. You exhale slowly as you look at the door to the O'Brien's fire control. On the Gundog, Dylan had his music to keep him occupied. Whoever was assigned to this station on the O'Brien probably wasn't so lucky. Just tell everyone that you're a Girl Scout and you brought cookies, they'll come running out, yeah. With this thought in mind, you carry out the process of hammering on the door, resting your helmet on it, and then giving it another go after getting nothing but silence in return. After a few attempts where you hear nothing coming from the room beyond, you step back. mentally crossing this room from your list of potential safe havens on board. Stood outside of the door that would be yours had you served on the O'Brien instead of the Gundog, you can't help but feel a bit nauseous. The familiarity of the door, the corridor, the thoroughfare, it all forces you to think about how close the Gundog came to being out here before the O'Brien. You push that thought from your mind. As close as it was to happening, it didn't. You were here, now, not whoever lived behind that door. Balling up your right hand into a fist, you hammer against the door, then place your helmet against it, waiting for a response. When you don't get one, you repeat the process a few more times, until eventually you step back, rubbing your gloved hand to try to ease the soreness from pounding on the door. No one's in. Standing in front of the door that, on the Gundog, would be at the entrance to Cassandra's quarters, you begin to feel a bit queasy. You've been doing your best not to think about how, aside from some lucky coincidences, this could have happened to the Gundog instead of the O'Brien. Despite your best efforts to keep that thought out of your mind, you can't help but dwell on it, seeing a door that could have been Cassie's. Who spends their free time on the other side of this door? Is it as much of a mess as Cassie's room? How close were the two of you from having this happen to you? Now's not the time for that. You remind yourself, stating it out loud to force the thought away. With your focus back on the task at hand, you repeat the process you've been using to check for signs of life or crew activity. Unfortunately, you get nothing back. Not seeing a lot of options here. You stop as you enter the room just before the airlock, where you'd been so used to the huge main shutter and its warnings on the Gundog. Here on the O'Brien was nothing but a vast corridor into space. Being able to see the stars like this from this position couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. Their light, as gentle as it is, feels like a forced intrusion on this room, somewhere they should never illuminate. You spend a few more moments gazing out of the airlock before you shake your head to clear your thoughts. If there was any hope for the O'Brien's crew, it was that you'd act fast and your stargazing wasn't helping anyone. Should I grab a spacesuit for whoever's in the hangar? Grabbing the handle on the suit's container, you twist it until the lock disengages and then open the door. Reaching in, you grab the radio on the suit's breast panel and detach it before turning it on and bringing it up to your face. No signal, huh? You check your radio is set to the same broadcast frequency as the O'Brien's, and after replacing the other suit's radio, set yours to transmit. This is Lieutenant Ranya of the JFS Gundog. We're here to provide assistance to any crew on the JFS O'Brien. I repeat, this is Lieutenant Ranya of the JFS Gundog. We're here to provide assistance to any crew on the JFS O'Brien. I grabbed the Samus armor. That'll have to do. Okay. Really don't... Guess I could see if there's anything on the bridge, but I'm otherwise kind of running out of options here. As you make your way up the ladder towards the bridge, you find your progress slowed by the bulk of your spacesuit, as it catches against various protrusions that stand out from the walls of the shaft. Despite having to stop multiple times to free yourself from these obstacles, you eventually see the faint outline of the entrance to the bridge above you. Clearing the remaining distance without incident, you step out from the hatch and onto the bridge. The absence of any signs of depressurization when you remove the panel in the central hub, as well as what you'd seen in the sickbay, had prepared you for what you knew you were about to see. Knowing you were about to see it, however, did not make it any easier. At the station on the left, you see the slumped figure of a young man. From his uniform and general appearance, you recognize him as Lieutenant Bashir, the officer that Cassie had been speaking to moments before the power went out on the Gundog. Unlike when he'd appeared on one of the Gundog's view screens, the man you saw now had clearly suffered what looked like either a small explosion or massive electrical shock. The front of his uniform was at its best singed and at worst completely charred, as was the skin of his hands and face. You grimace at the thought of what could have happened as you turn your attention to the captain's chair. There, slouching to the right, was the ship's captain, a rictus smile on his face, having seemingly suffered a similar fate. Whatever had happened to these two, it looked like something entirely different to what had happened to the doctor in the sickbay. Although she'd clearly been injured by something or someone, the cause of death for these two looked much more obvious. Although the question remained, how? You pause for a moment. You'd almost put your hand down on the headrest of the captain's chair, but you quickly moved away. If something had electrocuted these two, then...
Pretty grim, right?
You almost fall backwards in surprise as Hansen's voice sounds suddenly from your helmet's speakers, and he appears on the far side of the bridge, having emerged from under the control station on the right.
Easy, Lieutenant, it's just me. What, never seen what a fried human looks like?
You take a deep breath in and exhale, catching the breath that Hansen had just scared out of you. Damn it, Crewy. What the hell were you doing hiding underneath there?
Following orders, ma'am? Remember the plan?
Hansen lazily waves the folder you'd passed on to him at you. Wait, these guys look like they'd been electrocuted. Based on where they are, did you check?
Loosen up, Lieutenant. Power's not on. What's there to check for?
You can't help but be amazed at Hansen's cavalier attitude towards the risk of a painful death by electrocution. Alright, how's retrieving the black box going? It's Mega Man with a GET! I guess that's just how our spacesuits look like. They're Mega Man suits.
Not bad. I've managed to get most of the casing undone, but there's a lot going on in there and this suit doesn't make it easy. What about you? Find anyone?
You turn to look at the captain and Lieutenant Bashir for a moment before looking back at Hansen. I checked the sickbay and found the ship's doctor. She's dead too. Aside from her, these two are the only crew members I've managed to confirm. It's not looking good.
Guess that keeps things simple. No survivors. We get this box, then we get out of here. What? You want to hang around here a bit longer?
This was a whole crew, Hansen. Some might still be alive.
Guess you better get looking and find them, Lieutenant. Ease up, Lieutenant. I can say this from experience. If everyone's dead, there's no use wishing they weren't. It's not gonna bring them back. But if you're gonna find them, you should keep moving. Probably not much air left anywhere on this ship, even if they're lucky.
With another shrug, Hansen walks away from you, heading back to the control station he was hidden under when you entered.
Let me know when we're leaving, though. Alright, Lieutenant?
Okay, speaking of letting you know when we're leaving, I have received word that the wifey is on her way home from work, so I'm gonna draw down there. My plan next stream will be to search the captain's pockets for a high priority key card or the keys to his desk drawers. Then, depending on what I find, head either to engineering or to the captain's quarters. Once I've got something in hand from one of those places, then see if we can rescue whoever's in the hangar. Anyway, I'm gonna go find myself an evening snack and prepare for wifey's arrival. Until next time, my friends, live with honor, and your heart is unassailable.
Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Let me go, there's no doubt. Gotta get out of this small town. You took my heart from me, now you're everywhere I see. Set me free, let me fly. Let me find new kinds of highs. We're just wasting here, waiting for another year. We both know the score. We've been here once before. So many words unspoken. You took my heart, it's already broken. You don't have to wait, I can take the pain. I will surrender, let me go on a new adventure. Space, explore the world and find my place. Hope you find some peace of mind. Hope the night was worth your time. Threw my heart away, we won't see another day. We both know the score. We've been here once before. So many words unspoken. You took my heart, it's already broken. You don't have to wait, I can take the pain. It's a new adventure. On a new adventure. You'll find me dancing on my own. Nowhere to be, nowhere to go. In the rhythm I don't think of you. Don't call me up when you're feeling blue. You'll find me dancing on my own. Nowhere to be, nowhere to go. In the rhythm I don't think of you. Let me go. It's a new adventure. It's a new adventure. I will surrender. On a new adventure. I will surrender. Let me go on a new adventure.